Also forbidden for you, are women already married, except those, and in parentheses they put, captives and slaves, not just captives, captives and slaves whom your right hands possess. Now what in the world does this mean, David?
Well, here is one of those interesting situations where when we bring up a passage, Muslims always say context, right? Have to go to the historical context. Amen. We want to go to the historical context on this because that's what tells you exactly what this verse means. If you want to say, oh, it's saying that that your captives and that married women are forbidden to you, except your captives and slaves, what in the world does that mean? You have to look at the context for that. Well, we've got the context, my Muslim friends. We've got the context over and over and over again in the Muslim sources. Let me give you the context. This is Sunan Abu Dawud, number 2150. The Apostle of Allah sent a military expedition to Autas on the occasion of the Battle of Hunain. They met their enemy and fought with them. They defeated them and took them captives. So, they defeated their enemy and took them captives. Some of the companions of the Apostle of Allah were reluctant to have intercourse with the female captives in the presence of their husbands who were unbelievers. So there had been other battles where Muslims had killed the men and then taken the women captives, and they knew that they were allowed to have sex with their female captives because the Quran guaranteed them that right. But the question now was, now we captured the men and the women. So these aren't just our female captives, these are married female captives. They have, isn't this adultery? So Muhammad's companions were reluctant to have sex with them. Wait, we're not sure what to do here. And they go to Muhammad for advice. Muhammad, what should we do? So, some of the companions of the Apostle of Allah, going back to the passage, some of the companions of the Apostle of Allah were reluctant to have intercourse with the female captives in the presence of their husbands who were unbelievers. So Allah the Exalted sent down the Quranic verse, and all married women are forbidden unto you, save those captives whom your right hands possess. What verse is that, Sam?
That's chapter 4, verse 24, what I just read.
That is to say, finishing the passage, that is to say, they are lawful for them when they complete their waiting period. So there would be a waiting period to make sure that the woman wasn't pregnant from her husband. After that, you can have sex with them all you want, even though they're married. Their marriage doesn't matter. So context does matter, my Muslim friends, but context have to go to the historical context. Amen. We want to go to the historical context on this because That's what tells you exactly what this verse means. If you
no documentation whatsoever that the Prophet ﷺ permitted any woman to be raped. So anybody who's saying that is a liar.
Do you understand how big our scriptures are? 9 volumes of Sahih Bukhari, and you can't find one instance of rape in there? This is ridiculous. 800 pages of Sahih Muslim, Al-Jalalain, Al-Qurtubi, and no, we're talking literally of millions of pages, and you can't find no rape in there? But you'll never find one incident of rape, nor any teaching to justify that. It simply is not there. And the Islamic sources are vast. You can't find one single instance of this in our scriptures, and in spite of the fact of it being so vast. How is it that you cannot find one instance of this? But do you know what this historical evidence does prove? It proves there's a moral teaching out there. There is a moral teaching out there which is preventing these Muslims from engaging, from forcing themselves onto these women. All we have to do is just find it.
No woman in her right mind would love a man who was responsible for the execution of her own family members. Do you honestly think that a woman whose husband, brother, and father were just killed would, within a couple of days or so, voluntarily choose to marry and have sex with the same man who was responsible for the deaths of her family members? I ask you to think hard.
Deuteronomy 21 verses 10 to 14. When you go out to war against your enemies, and Yahweh your God gives them into your hand, and you take them captive, and you see among them captives a beautiful woman, and you desire to take her to be your wife, and you bring her home to your house, she shall shave her head and pare her nails, signs of mourning, mourning the loss of her loved one, mourning the loss of her loved one. Mourning the loss of her loved ones. She shall take off the clothes in which she was captured, and she'll remain in your house and lament her father and her mother a full month. After that, you may go into her and be her husband. After that, you may go into her and be her husband.
Do you honestly think that a woman whose husband, brother, and father were just killed would, within a couple of days or so, voluntarily choose to marry and have sex with the same man who was responsible for the deaths of her family members?